Do you think that pill bottles are just trash? Wait until you see the stunning home decor I created with them. You will never look at medicine bottles the same way again. In today's video, I am showing you how to turn something most people throw away, empty pill bottles, into unique, budget-friendly DIY home decor. These ideas are not only creative and easy to make, but they also give new life to materials you already have at home. These DIYs will surprise you, so grab those pill bottles and let's get crafting.
Hi, I'm Loli, and I'm so glad you are here.
For this project, we'll be using 2 of these wood ranks from Dollar Tree, these little stickers from Dollar Tree, and 2 pill bottles. The first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and remove all the stickers. I did that off camera. Then I'm going to use some hot glue and add it to the bottom section of one of the pill bottles and use a lot of hot glue at the middle and glue them butt to butt. Next, I took the 2 wood ranks from Dollar Tree and I'm just going to give them a sand, and I'm just going to remove any surfaces that are rough or uneven. Then I'm going to take a combination of Tide Bond Quick and Thick and hot glue to attach the pill bottles to both of the wood rounds. I'm adding the Quick and Thick on the wood rounds in the middle, and I'm using the hot glue on the bottle, but I'm doing it in the perimeter so that way both glues will not interfere with each other. I'm trying my best to keep this nicely centered. I just pressed it in the middle of the wood round, pressed it in place until the hot glue dried, and then I'm going to add hot glue to the top section of this top pill bottle and attach the other wood round on top of it, also trying to make it straight and centered. And this is what it's looking like so far. Next, we're going to use some stickers. I was thinking of using these, but I ended up using these puffy stickers from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to just go ahead and position them in the middle section of each of the pill bottles. I am gluing them using some hot glue. I did try some sections also where I used some Tide Bond instead, but the hot glue on the plastic was more than enough. I am adding the stickers about, I will say about a finger width in between each one, and that gave me the perfect spacing so everything will look symmetrical. And I went all the way around the mid section of both of the pill bottles. Once all my glue was nice and dry, I'm going to come in with some of these beads that I had found at Dollar Tree. Then I took some of these sticky cord also from Dollar Tree and I threaded 20 of those beads on there. Then I'm going to add those beads to the midsection where both of the pill bottles unite. And to glue it on, I'm using a combination of E6000 and hot glue. I'm adding E6000 in some portions and hot glue. I'm leaving spaces in between so I can add some hot glue. And then I'm going to go ahead and position my beads in place and make sure to tie that string very tightly so the beads will be held in place until that hot glue and the E6000 set. Then I am adding about 2 to 3 other nuts onto that sticky onto that stretchy cord to make sure it doesn't slip. And then I'm going to do the same thing to top and the bottom, and this is what it's looking like. Then I covered it with 2 coats of Seriously Gray from Waverly, and this is what it's looking like so far. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to take some of my white Rust-Oleum Linen white chalk paint and a small chip brush. I'm going to just dry brush that white over the entire candlestick, trying to add some more onto the beads and all the raised surfaces that I added to this. And I did this until I went all the way up the entire candlestick. And this is it for this one. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this one? So the previous DIY seemed a little bit lonely. A candlestick by itself is just like a lonely man without a wife and child. So I decided I needed to do more, but I had no more pill bottles. But my friend Miriam came to the rescue and got me these 2 pill bottles, and they were the perfect size for the next DIY. First thing that I did was remove all of the stickers and the plastic off of this one. And we're going to remove that cap to remove the rest of the plastic off of that. We gave it a nice cleaning, and we are going to use 4 of these wood rounds that we got from Dollar Tree. I removed the hangers, and we're going to cover all of the holes using some of this lightweight spackle from Dollar Tree. I added the spackles on both the top section and the bottom section of each one of these wood rounds. Once all of the spackle dried, we are going to adhere our pill bottles to our wood rounds. And to do that, I'm using a combination of Tide Bond, Quick and Thick, and hot glue. I'm not using only hot glue because the wood doesn't always like the hot glue. And I truly want a tight bond between these pieces. Then I position my pill bottle at the center of the wood round. Here I'm trying to be as precise as I could, eyeballing it as best as I can, I should say. And I'm doing the same thing to the other pill bottle. Then I'm coming in and adding some of that Tide Bond Quick and Thick to the top section of each one of the pill bottles. And then I'm going to come in and add hot glue to the middle where I did not have any of that Tide Bond, and position the other wood round on top of each pill bottle. My friend, today's video is part of the Wood Round or Wreath Wednesday that is hosted on the 4th Wednesday of every month by Aurea from DIY with Aurea, myself Loli from Loli's Creations, and this month our guest host is Donna from the Creole Crafter. In this collaboration, we create DIY home decor using wood rounds or wreath forms. Click the link in the description box or in the pinned comments so you can enjoy everyone's creations. Thank you. Then I'm going to use some of these puffy stickers from Dollar Tree, and I'm adding them to the sides of the wood round at about a finger width. And I'm going to add a combination of hot glue and our Quick and Thick glue. Here I'm just using hot glue, but I did Tide Bond for the other ones, and this is what it's looking like so far. Then I'm going to take my zip sander and just lightly sand the areas where that spackling is to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. And what I did to the top, I did to the bottom on both candle holders. Then I took some of these beads from Dollar Tree and I threaded them onto some of this stretchy cord that I also found at Dollar Tree. I used about 16 beads for this. And guys, I kept having accidents. I was like, why? I threaded them again. I am going onto them. I'm about to tie them on, and why? I was not having a good time. I always having mishaps, guys, all the time. But I gained control of the beads. Then I went over and I tied it again onto that, making sure that it's nicely tight and that my beads are close to each other. Once I like the positioning, I'm going to give it 2 or 3 more knots onto that to make sure that that stretchy cord does not slip off. And then I cut off the excess. And I added some beads to the other pill bottle as well. And I'm doing it to where the indentation where the cap meets the bottle. And to glue both of these, I will be using a combination of Tide Bond, Quick and Thick, and hot glue. I'll be adding the Tide Bond in some sections or intervals, and the hot glue in between. So the hot glue will be setting everything up so I can continue working on this. And the Tide Bond will dry in about 15 minutes and will give it more of a secure hold. My friend, if you enjoyed this video so far, please don't forget to hit that like button. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so YouTube notifies you each time that I upload a new video. All these things are free and they mean the world to me. Thank you so much. After I was done with these, I decided to add more to the bottom. So I added some to the bottom and then painted both pieces with my Seriously Gray from Waverly. I love this color. Look how cute that is. But I'm not done. I'm neither distressed. So I'm going to come in with some of my Rose-Stolen Linen White Chalk paint and a chip brush. And I'm going to dry brush some of that white on there. And just adding the paint onto my paintbrush. Then removing most of the paint and then rubbing it against all my raised edges and actually all the surfaces, because I do want this to have this distressed look and I want it to match the previous candlestick that I did before as well. I love how this distressing brings out all the details of each project, and I love that now my previous candle holder will not be alone. Let me know what you think about this one. For this project, we'll be using a wood round from Dollar Tree, this little house, a couple pill bottles, and that welcome sign from Dollar Tree as well. First, we are going to remove all the stickers from both of our pill bottles. I'm going to remove the caps because we will not be using them for this project. Then I'm going to take my wood round and remove that hanger from it. I'm going to make sure that I'm using the side that is the smoothest, and I'm going to use this gift bag that I got from Dollar Tree. I love the patterns, and I also love the colors and the fact they're bead themed. I removed the hanger from one of the sides, and I'm going to use the ridge on each side of the bag to cut off a section. I need a section that will cover the entire wood round. My friend, if you're enjoying this content so far, please go ahead and hit that like button. That truly helps my channel be pushed out to more people. And let me know in the comment section where you're watching from. I love to know how far my videos are reaching, and share it with someone who will enjoy it as much as you do, because sharing is caring and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much. All right, once that I have the piece of bag cut, I am using just plain old school glue from Dollar Tree to attach this. If you don't have Mod Podge, that is quite all right to use this as well. So I'm adding enough so I have a good adhesion on throughout the entire wood round. And to spread this around, I'm using a paintbrush. And I'm making sure that that glue is in every inch of that wood round. Next, I'm making sure that that bag is covering the wood round in its entirety, and that I don't have the holes that are in the top onto the wood rounds. And then I'm using my X-Acto knife to cut off the sections around it. And I'm trying to be very careful because sometimes it's easy to cut this wood as well. So just make sure to keep your blade nice and straight and use the pointy part, and you will be fine, and you'll have a nice clean cut as long as your X-Acto knife is nicely sharp. Then I flip over my wood round to make sure that everything is nice and clean and that I have no bubbles. Then I take my weeder from Dollar Tree and I'm pressing down onto the section where the holes of this wood round is, so I'm able to add a hanger later on. And I'm pushing it from the outside in, so that way the paper will be into the hole. Next, I took this house from Dollar Tree and I'm going to stain it using some watered down Waverly Antique Wax. I'm just going to go ahead and spread it on most of the sections of this, but not including that front portion or the back of it. Then I took a piece of the same bag that I used previously, and I am taking here a section that will look cute on the front of my little house. So I'm making a square, or actually a rectangle, that is big enough to cover that. Next, I added some of my school glue to that unpainted surface. And as you see there, I had a lot come out. Another mishap. Anyway, so then after that, I'm spreading everything around using my paintbrush, making sure I'm not missing any spots. And then I lined up my paper, leaving that little scapuline exposed. And then I folded the bag over so I had indentations of where I needed to remove the remainder of the bag. And then using my small scissors from Dollar Tree, I am cutting off those sections. Some areas were not as clean, so I came in with my zip sander and I just sanded it down in a downward motion to go ahead and cut off that piece of paper, and then I'm able to tear it downward and I have a nice clean cut. Then I took some jute cord and I'm just burning off the fuzzies before I position it onto my house. Then I added a little bit of hot glue, added it to the back and put a small section of the jute cord there, and then wrapped it all the way around, making sure that it was in a nice straight line. And I wrapped it about 2 to 3 times around the house. On the third way around, I added a little bit of hot glue on that right-hand corner just to make sure that everything stayed in place. And then wrapped it all the way around to the back and glued the excess to the back of the house. And I thought this gave it a nice embellishment. But we are not done yet. We're going to come in and bring that wood round back in, and we are going to glue it to the bottom section of the wood round using a combination of the Tide Bond Quick and Thick and hot glue. The Tide Bond is so it will last permanently, and the hot glue is so we can work right now, because you know I'm impatient. All right, once our house is nice and set, we are going to embellish this further. But now it's time for our pill bottles. First, I had coated them with some white paint and some baking soda, but I didn't like it. So I came back with plan B, and I'm going to wrap it in jute cord instead. I added a little bit of hot glue to the bottom of the pill bottle, and then I am starting to round or wind the jute cord all around itself, creating a spiral until I cover the entire bottom of the pill bottle. And once I cover that entire bottom, I'm just going to continue to wrap that jute cord all to the top of that pill bottle. Here at the top is when things get a little tricky. So I am adding hot glue in the inside of all of those grooves. And I'm doing this so I have that like a tapering effect onto the opening of the pill bottle. If I leave the grooves without doing this, my jute cord is going to sink into those holes, and then my bottle will have that shape, and that is not what I'm going for. So I added a hot glue and let it dry, and now I am continuing to wrap the jute cord all the way to the top until you can see no more of that pill bottle. I did not like that you can still see some of the white, so you will see me here add a little bit more hot glue like towards the inside just to finish up that little end there that you can still see some pill bottle. Just be very careful not to add too much hot glue, and then just position it very carefully, like gluing it onto the previous piece of jute cord, and just like do it on top of it, if that makes any sense, but in the inside, but on the side of the jute cord, I should say. Then I trimmed off the excess, added a little bit of hot glue to the inside of the pill bottle, and tucked in that little end. Now that it is completely covered, I'm going to bring my lighter, and you know already I don't like fuzzies, so I'm going to go ahead and take my lighter and burn off all of the fuzzies. Plus, I love that effect that it gives it. It makes it look worn and grungy. Then I took a small piece of jute cord. I'm adding a little bit of hot glue in the bottom here, and I am just adding the hot glue in a circle and positioning that jute cord on top of it until I complete a complete circle, if that makes any sense. Anyway, once I get to my end of my circle, I'm cutting off my excess jute cord and tacking down that little piece. Then I'm taking a little bit of my Folk Art Rich black chalk paint and a small paintbrush, and I am painting the inside of that circle black, being very careful not to add it to the jute cord. Then I took some of these beads that I got from Amazon. I'm removing the paper from the back of it, and I am adding it in 2 sections of this. And if you have not figured it out yet, I am doing tiny little beehives. They're so cute. I made 2. This is what they look like once I added a flower. But this is just part of the project. We are going to incorporate them. But first, I'm going to create a hanger for my wood round. So I took about 20 beads, added them to a plastic bag. I added a scoop of my Waverly Antique Wax. I sprayed some water in there as well, and I slurred it around or smushed it around until all my beads were coated. And this is the easiest way to stain some beads, in my opinion. Once they dried, I just put them onto the same jute cord that this wood round came with and positioned it into my wood round. Now coming our little beehives, we are going to glue them to each side of this house. And to do that, I'm going to use some hot glue. Once they were both attached to each side of the house, I am going to take a small welcome sign from Dollar Tree, and we're going to glue it to the top section right here using a combination of the Tide Bond Quick and Thick and some hot glue. And I'm just going to place it on a slant. And this completes this project. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this one? For this project, I'm repurposing this wreath that I created some years back. I'm just going to remove all of that flowers and greenery off of it. And I'm going to leave it to the side because I will be repurposing both. First, I'm going to take this sign that I found at Dollar Tree, and we are going to remove that hanger. And I'll be using 3 pill bottles for this project. I carefully removed the jute cord off of this because I save everything, guys. But anyway, I removed the jute cord off of that, and we are going to adhere it using some of the wire. Then I removed the caps off of my pill bottles, and I am cutting off those pieces, that safety piece that you will have to like press down in order to open it. I am removing that and the lip altogether. Then I'm using my emery board to sand down any rough edges, so this will be nice and smooth. And I repeated this with both of the smaller pill bottles. And I attached the guidance sign to the reed form using some floral wire. Now it's time to embellish our pill bottles. I'm going to use this fabric that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut a section that is big enough to go around here. I am worrying about covering only like right underneath the opening. And I'm just adding hot glue all along, all the way from the top to the bottom. Then I am cutting off the excess that I'm going to have towards the bottom, but I'm leaving about, I will say about an inch on the bottom. Then I'm wrapping it all the way around and gluing down the fabric after I am overlapping onto the other piece of fabric, and I'm cutting off the excess. Then I am creating little slits in the leftover section on the bottom, so I'm able to wrap the bottom as well. And then I'm adding hot glue onto each one of those little tabs and bringing them down so it will cover the bottom of my pill bottle. Then I added hot glue in the entire section there and added another piece of fabric on top of that. And once that was dry and set, I'm going to take my small scissors and remove the excess fabric from the edges, leaving a nice clean bottom. That sounded like a Charmin commercial. Now I'm going to go ahead and take some of this rope, and I'm adding a little bit of hot glue to a portion there. And I'm going to position my rope on there, hold it in place until it dries. Then I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue here and there in between as I go around the entire circumference of the pill bottle. And I did about 2 or 3 revolutions using this technique. When I get to the top here, I'm adding the hot glue on the top section of the same rope, and then I'm cutting my rope in a slant and adding a little bit of hot glue on the end. I'm then slightly tucking it in so it will look like a nice seamless transition between the beginning and the end. And I repeated the same thing with the other one as well. Now we are going to work with the bigger pill bottle. For this one, we are not using the cap either. And I'm going to wrap it with the same fabric as well, using the same process that I used for the other one. But I'm going to leave a lot more fabric on the top section. Once I wrap the bottom section as well, I added another piece of fabric to the bottom as I did with the previous project. I added hot glue to the section where the thread of the bottle will be, where it begins, and added a piece of my rope onto that. And I'm going to wrap it all the way around, but I'm tucking in the fabric as neat as possible as I go along so it will look like I'm creating a pouch. Once I have it completely surrounded, or I have the rope go completely around, I am cutting off the excess, and I'm making sure that I'm making that cut very straight so that way it will not unravel. And I'm adding hot glue to that little edge also, and I'm gluing it, buttoning it perfectly against the previous piece so it would look like a seamless transition. And then I trimmed off some of the fabric from the top of the pill bottle, making sure that my cuts were nice and straight. Now it's time to adhere this to our frame. So to do that, I will be tying it using some jute cord. I first started with just a single knot, 2 knots I should say, and I left one of the ends pretty long, and I'm going to wrap it about 5 times around close to each other so it would look like I'm giving this pill bottle a belt. But I'm not giving it a waist. So once I got to that section there, I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the excess, glue it down, and then to give it more stability, I took another piece of the jute cord and I'm wrapping it underneath that rope section and also giving it 2 knots, and this made it nice and straight. And that's it for this part. Now we're going to go ahead and flip this over and attach the other 2. And it's pretty much the same concept. I'm just going to go ahead and tie them and then wrap some jute cord all around. But you know already I need to burn off the fuzzies because they bother me. And then I attach them. Now it's time to embellish it with some sunflowers. I added a couple of sunflowers on each one of these. I believe I did 2 on the biggest fill bottle and 1 in the smallest ones. And as a hanger, I'm taking a piece of the same rope. I'm going to thread it around that bracket as you see there, and then knot it at the top, leaving a perfect little loop to put a wreath hanger through. And that is it for this project. Let me know in the comment section what do you think about this one. I love it.
My friend, as always, thank you so much for watching. Be blessed, be a blessing, and craft responsibly. And if you enjoyed today's content, here is some more videos you are sure to enjoy. Thank you again so much for watching. You're amazing. Bye.